Back. Let's take a look at the morning's newspapers. We're joined by the journalist and political commentator Jade Azim and the senior political correspondent from the Daily Express, Christian Calgi. Jade and Christian, thank you very much for your time. Let's get started with this one. It's in The Observer, of course. It's the story that's probably leading all broadcasts at the moment and in most of the papers. The UK about to recognise Palestine.
Yes, obviously the big story of the weekend. Again, long time coming. This comes off the back of that July announcement that the Prime Minister made. Obviously incredibly symbolic and important insofar as obviously this follows France, Portugal, Canada and Australia, not the US, which we can get onto. But obviously the UK was instrumental in the founding of the State of Israel, obviously the Balfour Declaration. So this will be quite significant on the international stage. And I think the government are very aware of just how important that is. Obviously, this follows that Trump state visit where this obviously came up as a point of contention. They managed to sort of keep that a little bit off that stage, but it is going to become an increasingly important point of argument between the two states. And it's obviously going to keep causing quite a bit of tension on the global stage. We'll see how it pans out, but the Prime Minister has obviously made a bet that this is important both domestically in terms of his standing as we go into party conference season, but also he's written in various papers about how it's a moral duty as well of the UK.
It's due to come sometime this morning, I think, in a video message. Christian, I mean, we know that the Conservative Party are against this idea. They see it as a reward for Hamas. I spoke to the Lib Dems yesterday who are backing it as well. What about the rest of the parties? Where do the others sort of sit on this decision by the UK government?
What with reform? Well, I mean, reform. Nigel Farage is trying to hedge this because I think his instinct is pro-Israel, but he knows that that's not really where voters are at the moment, and it's very difficult for a party to try and sort of die on the hill of defending Israel when the average voter is seeing the videos and footage coming out of Gaza, which is really heartbreaking. This is a very interesting piece because I think it really does pay particular attention to the fact that the UK is not out on a limb here. It is America. We're going to recognise Palestine along with France, Portugal, Canada, Australia. About 3/4 of the UN all recognise Palestine, although even the Observer, I do note, say that the move is largely symbolic. So, you know, we shouldn't get too distracted by this. I mean, whether you're, pro-Palestine, pro-Israel, I mean, the footage that we see from Gaza is not going to change as a result of this move by the government.
Absolutely right. OK, let's move on, because there's a few more stories, I think, worth getting to that you guys have picked out for us. This is in The Telegraph. Take us through this report.
So the new Housing Secretary is going to give local people the power to block new vaping and gambling shops and other things that people get particularly riled about, like Turkish barbers. So voters neighbourhoods will have powers to limit the number of any particular type of shop located within a certain area. And I do think there's very sound a political impetus behind this, because I think the degradation of the high street is absolutely one of those things that drives people into the arms of anti-establishment parties. And you've got Steve Reid saying this is about supporting communities to take back control. And also the analysis shows that areas with the most rundown high streets are the most heavily turning to reform. So it's a nice idea. I do have a couple of thoughts. Firstly, what goes in their place, right?
First thought, like what's going to be
there is a reason why high streets are being filled with these sort of shops. You know, it's not like councils would prefer a vape shop over an independent cafe or, antique shop. This is what we're getting because, well, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people also think that, for example, Turkish barbers, many might be involved in money laundering. So I would also ask, why isn't the government being more proactive in actually, investigating them rather than just closing them down? And presumably, if they are money laundering, they'll just move into a different sort of line of work. But, I do think this is the sort of thing that Labour should be doing if it wants to tackle reform.
I'm sure many Turkish pubs would dispute.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm not saying all of them. But you do look at a high street that has like 4 of them, and you think there can't be that people are not having this many haircuts.
People love shaves. You get the wet towel as well. So it's a lovely thing. I mean, but that is the question. Like, what is going to replace these premises if they're not allowed to be there?
Well, it is a very savvy move, and the take back control line is genuinely politically fantastic. This is obviously a sort of more of a planning reform side of things. Obviously, what comes in the budget will dictate if SMEs feel they are able to open their own shops, right? So the planning reform is very important, but we also need to look towards incentives and support for businesses to thrive on the high street.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the Sunday Times, because we didn't actually get round to talking about this in yesterday's paper review, but I'm glad that you guys have picked it up, because it's the
best story of the week.
Yeah,
Fantastic
it absolutely is. All right, so take us to the report then, Jade.
Yes, so this obviously comes off the back of that quite strange and complicated your party, our party feud. So obviously Zara Sultana and Jeremy Corbyn, alongside some other independent MPs, started the Your Party, which was actually the trademark name and not actually the name, and they're still working that out. But they've basically come across a feud now because there's public spat over, well, the direction and structure at the beginning. There's always been a spat between Zara Sultana and Jeremy Corbyn about this. But now it's because she sent out, Zara, that is, sent out accused of being sent out an unauthorised fundraising email by the other MPs, which she completely disputes. But it's fascinating because it's obviously always a point of contention on the left amongst left parties, that there is always quite a bit of a division. So it's just utterly fascinating. Jeremy Corbyn has now since come out to say he's appalled by the abuse directed by Zara Sultana, and of course his feud is going on and on and on.
So they haven't managed to squash the beef. I mean, she's accused them of being a sexist boys' club.
Yep.
He now says that she's been abusive towards him and his staff. So it just worsens, and you're loving it.
So much fun. Jeremy Corbyn has been accused of being on the right wing of a faction. I mean, I've seen leftists describe him as an old white man who's out of touch. I mean, I'd never thought I'd see Jeremy Corbyn cancelled. It's beautiful to watch. It's better than anything on at the cinema at the moment.
What is actually going on? Why can't they actually speak?
Because
I mean,
they're all, just temperamentally imbalanced, petulant children who would struggle to run a student union. I mean, Zara Sultana's managed to fall out with like half of the MPs, and at the end of the day, it's a party that, on the one hand is absolutely radical on like pro-trans rights. On the other hand, is stuffed full of really, small C conservative Islamists. I mean, it was never a happy marriage.
The thing is, this is just a current iteration of this ongoing issue with the left, where they often do just create their own factions, and they have factions upon factions upon factions. And whilst reform is sort of storming ahead, you get this on the left where they simply cannot organise.
The one group that I think probably quite happy is the Green Party, because I think they put on like an extra 1,000 or something members because of this.
And I don't know why you wouldn't, if you were a proper lefty, why you wouldn't join the Green Party, because bear in mind, as you say, they haven't even got a name yet. They haven't launched, and they've collapsed. So
just incredible. And it goes on.
Doesn't it just?
And it goes on. All right, next one. Where are we? Let's move on to something that's a bit more fun. Let's move on to this, as suggested by the voices in my head. Thank you for that, Sue. Drinkers like to queue, apparently.
Yeah. So another sort of marker on Britain's descent into absolute calamity. A majority of drinkers prefer a single-file queue at a pub. But, by the way, this isn't just a sort of woke nonsense Gen Z thing. This is adults. We're all culpable here. I mean, 2/5 of adults.
Speak for yourself. I don't know how much I queue at pubs.
I mean, I just think it's a disgrace. 39% believe everyone should stand along the bar, whereas 43% prefer queuing. And obviously this has sort of started with COVID, where we had to queue for social distancing. But one one bar says has a sign saying this is not a post office. There's no need to queue like one.
I can't imagine being in a pub and seeing an orderly queue. The last time I was in a busy pub, it was 4 or 5 people deep, which is how
my message to listeners is do not be cowed by this queuing nonsense. If there is a queue, walk past it and stand. We've got to take them on.
I dig it. I'm not sure what paper this in, but I still remain to be convinced that people are actually queuing in pubs. I don't know if that's
Do you know what? This is the first time I've ever agreed with Christina.
Well, I like that. We've got to it eventually. All right, let's move on. Quick thought here it's the Sun, isn't it? But of course we were covering it in the sport as well, about the Red Roses getting into the final.
Of course, this is the semi-final, and the England women's won. It was apparently a very tumultuous match, but Ellie Kilden scored 2 brilliant solos, and we won 35-17. So we'll see them in finals.
And as James was saying, I think it's over 30 games unbeaten, 17 times they've beaten France. It's just they're a winning machine, so let's hope that next week...
You know, I had no opinions on this story at all until you just revealed that we've beaten France so many times.
17
Bring it on them. Bring it on. Fine, I might start watching if we're
they're playing Canada in the final at Twickenham, 82,000 sellout, so it's going to be a big old game, and we wish the Red Roses all the very best of luck. All right, Jade, Christian, thanks both.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy the rest of your Sundays. Thank you very much for being with us. All right, well, please join us after this short break. We'll have all of the day's top stories, including the very latest on the government's plans, as Keir Starmer is set to recognise the state of Palestine later this morning. Stay with us. We'll have that and the rest of the day's news.
I want to start the programme today with an aim, a story that I can't get out of my head. The campaign has now started. This is your chance. Tell people. This is the Politics Hub. It's not correct. The tax burden is projected to go up.
No,
but I'm not. This is my interview. Look, this is ridiculous.
No one does care about us.
I'm really interested in that. On the Politics Hub, we like to push the boundaries. He's got the majority. The question is, what is he going to do with it?